Hey folks, Bubba Washington here today, and today I'm reviewing Dungeon Roll by Chris Darden and published by Tasty Minstrel Games. How does this little dice roller stack up as a solo game? Well, stick around and find out. Alright, let's take a look at how the game Dungeon Roll is set up for a solo player. The game's set up pretty much the same as the multiplayer game. In fact, there really isn't any difference between the setups at all. What you're going to have is you're going to have your character card. It's going to give you your special ability throughout the game. And also I've placed these two reference cards down here just to show you that there are in the game, and if you need them, they're available. Now, the way the game works is you're going to take a dive into the dungeon. In the solo game, just like the regular game, you get 3 dives into the dungeon and try to score the most points you can, and you're essentially trying to beat your high score. The way it works, you'll eventually, on your first go-round, you'll roll your 7 dice, figure out what you want to get, and then you'll set the dungeon die down to 1, and then you'll roll one of these black dungeon monster dice. And when you roll that, you'll have to use your party to defeat it. In this case, each die phase has a specific action it can do. There's wizards and mages and fighters and all that, and they can take out particular monster groups at once. And there's also a thief group or die that can also open multiple chests and stuff like that. Each die can do one action as well, like a fighter. Even though a fighter can take out all the goblins in a given round of the dungeon, one of the mages can do one goblin at a time. So that's key to remember as you're planning your dive through the dungeon, is how do you want to utilize your die the most efficiently. Now, with that being said, on the first level, there's also there's not only other monsters on the die, but there's also these potion faces too. Now, it takes 1 die essentially to remove a potion. Now, the benefit about that is as you progress to the dungeon, you'll take your die out to take the other dice out with it, and you'll have to go to your graveyard. However, when you take out one of these potions, you're allowed to take one of these dice back from your graveyard and replace it back in your party with on any face you like. So there's some strategic planning in how you're going to do that as well. Also on these dice, there's a scroll on the white die. These allow you to re-roll any of these die. Now, the key thing to remember, though, is that anytime you roll a dragon, the dragon die gets set aside because you're essentially, like making noise and stuff, and thematically you're going to like wake up the dragon or something like that. So anyways, as you progress to the dungeon, there's a potential chance that if you get 3 of these dragon dice, you also have to fight the dragon on the particular level. So before you continue to progress to the dungeon. So the way it works is that, say we rolled our first die, and it happened to be a monster. Well, we have a monster, we use one of our die. Like I said, any die can take out a single monster, so it doesn't really matter if we waste our die right here. So we'll just take this one out. That goes back to this pool. This goes to our graveyard, and we progress to the next level, which is 2. Now, we don't re-roll our pool, but we re-roll these die. Instead of doing 1, we'll do 2. And you keep re-rolling as you progress to the dungeon for each level. Now, let's talk about some special things that happen. Say, for instance, you've come across in the dungeon a chest. You use one of your die to open the chest. Well, you get to open up the little box right here that is shaped like a chest and draw out a treasure. And the treasure on this case is a dragon scale. It essentially gives us extra points at the end of the game for each dragon scale we capture. However, there are a couple treasures in there that allow us to, manipulate our die, and also to use the token in substitution of one of our die. So like when you fight the dragon, when you have 3 of these dragons you have to fight, normally you would have to use 3 different types of things. Like we have a wizard and a paladin, and say we had a fighter as well, or a guardian. We'd have to defeat that. Some of these tokens can be used in lieu of these. So I know we covered a bunch of rules all there at once, but that's pretty much, it's pretty straightforward and pretty simple. And you continue going and pressing your luck. And basically you can go as far as you want to go, or at any time after, you can run and hide. Say you say, oh, I can't beat this thing, I can run and take your points. So how points work is for each level of the dungeon you progress. Say you went all the way down to level 5, you would get a token, a little token right here. Well, there's a 5 in here somewhere. You get a little token in here that essentially tells you your points. So after you get usually when you get 5 experience points, you can also level up your character. I didn't mention your character, but your character actually has a special ability which you can exhaust during your turn to do a special one of your special powers or so. And sometimes they'll give you a starting bonus too. Like they'll say like, oh, if you happen to roll a scroll, you turn that automatically to some other die or something like that. And there's quite a few characters throughout the game, so it's a little bit of replayability with this game as well. And that's pretty much how the dungeon roll works. Like I said, you go through this exercise 3 times, and then you figure out what your high score is, counting the experience that you got going through the dungeon, these little points, and also any treasures that you have. Any unused treasures count for points and whatnot. And there's a little table in the back of the rules that says, well, if you meet this level, you're, X kind of hero. If you meet this level, you're, some level of hero higher and whatnot. Anyways, like I said, the game's pretty much trying to beat your high score. So that's Dungeon Roll in a nutshell. Hey, so what did I think about Dungeon Roll? I'll tell you what I thought about it. Game sucks. It's terrible. I wouldn't waste my time on it. I wouldn't waste your time on it. Even with the variable player powers and stuff like that, and the things you can do to manipulate dice. I mean, it's still essentially, you roll a pool of dice here, you try to take, you got a dice over here, you cancel each other out. Same mechanic, same thing over and over again. This game sucks. Don't waste your time. I guess after 4 or 5 takes of throwing it around, at least the box kind of holds up. So you got that going for it. Hey, Bubba Washington here again. Thanks for taking your time out of your busy day to watch my review about Dungeon Roll. It really means a lot to me, and I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And also, if I'm completely wrong and you love Dungeon Roll and it's the greatest game in the world, please let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear your opinion. Also, if you enjoy my solo reviews and you want to check out more, don't forget to subscribe to my channel to be notified of the latest reviews when I upload. I upload every Friday, so until next time, I'll see you at the gaming table.